Hello and welcome to the Golden Bean. Today we are actually constructing our art piece with all the elements that you've sent in to me and that we've created. So if you remember, we have created and cut hexagons, we've made freestanding lace, and also you've sent me in all these wonderful flowers for the wreath around the bee. I did pre-quilt this fabric prior to construction, and I'm really lucky because Jackie, who's one of our team members at Echidna, she has quilted the sandwich for the Golden Bee together for me, and she's done a beautiful job. You can't see much of it yet, but you will be able to soon. So let's get into how this is going to come together. You can see I've already stitched some of these panels here, and this is the hexagons, and they make part of, let me move these things out of the way, but they make part of this bee's body that I have underneath. So you can see I have the base, I'll move my paper, it's for tracing, the base, so the tail is hexagons, and then there's a black stripe, hexagon stripes. So I've pre-cut some already, but to show you how I've done this, I'm going to just move these out of the way, and I'm going to show you how to trace block number 5. Now, so that we don't get any marks on the fabric, I'm just using baking paper. So I'm laying it over the top, and doesn't have to be exact, which is really nice because I'm just using this as my pattern to cut out the fabric, and I can go this way. So I'm looking at number 5, and I'm using my friction pen as well, and I'm just tracing that basic shape so I can use this as my pattern to lay it on my fabric. So I'm going to cut this out. I don't have my paper scissors, but I'd usually use paper scissors. Cut this out just like this. Lay it on the pre-quilted fabric, which is here. And I will pin the pattern on. I'll just quickly finish this for you. And then I'm cutting on the black lines, and I shall grab my large Echidna scissors around the shape. And this will fit on my bee's abdomen if I've cut it correctly and drawn my shape correctly. It doesn't have to be exact because I do have some special fabric I've found that I'm going to use to couch around the outside. So let me just get this out of the way. So that is the shape we just traced, and that will fit there. So that was my last stripe that needed to be cut. And then if I put the elements back, so my hexagons at the bottom. So the hexagons we did stitch at the time, and all I've been doing is adding my rows as I go. So I think this one is for here. You can see I've still got a few, I've got 1, probably 2 1/4 rows to go to complete that stitching. The other thing I have done with the black stripes is to put a hot melt web on the back, and I'm going to use that to stick that down to make sure it's firmly in place. So you can see the black will hide the raw edges of the hexagon, so I don't need to worry about this shape when I am stitching the hexagons onto the body. So And you can see that I have just neatened those edges. It's just so that you've got a visual, because I won't have time to stitch all this on film today, and I don't think that you'd probably want to see me do that. But I have got my black, it's like a knit fabric rolled. Yeah, I guess you could say it's a macrame type fabric. I'm just trying to find the end. And this is what's going to hide. I'll just show you overhead. I'm actually going to open this up, and it's going to hide the raw edges, and it will be couched all the way around the outside. So this will get tucked in like this, and then the black will get couched on top, and it will also define the area of the bee's abdomen. I'm also going to use this for his feelers at the top, so they'll go up and they'll curl, and also to define the legs and some of his other areas that I think will need to stand out. So that is what that will be. So you can kind of see the bee coming together. Up the top here, you can see at the very top, I have these two ready to go. But what I wanted to show you, if I get this out of the way, is that I have my curved needle here that you can very possibly see. I've threaded it with our coarse spun poly thread, a double thread. And the reason I've chosen a curved needle is because when I'm stitching this onto here, it'll be easier, just so that you can see, for me to go like this with the curved needle, because it automatically pushes that up and it allows me to stitch that in place. And again, I'm not going to worry too much about how this is going to go on, because I am using this special couching thread material, fabric, whatever you'd like to call it, through here. And so that will hide, that will make the seam more pronounced, but it will also hide where the connection is. So I'm just going to go along here until, just tuck this back in. You can see I've got it pinned already, but until the stripe is attached. It's going to look really fun once it's finished. I'm not worrying too much about these marks, because it is completed with a friction pen and they will iron away. So I'm not concerned about the exactness of this, but just making sure it is stitched in place so that we won't fall off once it's on the wall. So that's what you do, and that's why a curved needle is way better. You can see it's much easier to use. You can see when I'm holding it, the curve makes me push it through, and I can grab it easily if I can get it in the right spot. Just got to make sure you get nearer to the edge, which is there. And I just push that with my finger and just pull. So it makes it easy to sew down. So I've got to do that on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stripes, front and back, so I've got to do that 10 times. I'm not going to do that on film. With the hexagons, you can see I've ironed this shape. And again, this will just be hand stitched in the same way that I have completed the black along the top, but this too will have this edge around there. So it's just essentially attacking to hold it down, and then it'll be couched on top with the black. Look pretty cute, I think. The next step, which is probably the interesting step, is using the freestanding lace to create the wings. Now, I have made a template for the freestanding lace using our organza. I didn't know if you knew much about this, but I've used this template. I've traced the wings onto here. Not sure if you can see this. probably not very well, but I've stitched in a white line on here the shape of the exact shape of the leaves, one for each side. So what I'm going to do now is take a variety of the freestanding lace, so we would use light and dark because it's going to be mixed up, and position them on my wing here. Now it doesn't matter if it goes over the outside. The organza is just giving me a base to stitch them onto, and then I'm going to take this once it's completed and then hand sew it onto the outer edge of the bee once that's done. So I'm actually going to machine sew these on. So let me grab my machine and I'll come back to you and show you how to do that. Okay, so I've got my NV50S ready to go, and I'm going to be using this machine to stitch these freestanding lace designs onto the organza. You can see my shape here I've drawn onto the organza, and I haven't trimmed it down intentionally because I'm going to stitch along here probably by hand, and then I'm going to trim it back once it's on the bee wing background. So I've stitched this one on, and all I've used is my lock stitch in the center and just reverse backwards and forwards to just fix it in place. It's pretty steady, but it gives it kind of that three-dimensional shape, which is what I was aiming for when I first thought of the bee and its wings. So let me just quickly pop one under the needle, and I'm going to lock and then sew forward and reverse back and lock again. It's that easy. The wings will come together really quickly. And my thread on top, I've just used just a pale lemon and a white underneath. And you can see that's 2. I'll pop in another one here. This is 3. And I can see the wings coming together, which is fabulous. It's going to look so great once it's done. I'm obviously not going to be able to finish creating the whole of the golden bee on camera for you today, but we will have a big reveal in the near future. So stay tuned to our socials for that, because that will be coming up. But have a look at those 3, and then if you wanted to use freestanding lace for some sort of art installation, you could do exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just placing this one underneath, and we'll stitch that again. And this lace is soft enough for me to push it out of the way while I stitch, and then it will just fold back nicely. And that's the beauty of freestanding lace. It's really flexible. I think it's a undervalued type of technique you can use for creating some things. So that's here. And I'm going to keep going stitching all these, but you don't need to see me do that, so I'll just show you how the wing shape is starting to form. And I'll go along here, through here and down here until the whole wing is covered in lace. So let me get the machine out of the way, and then I will show you what we're going to do with the flowers. Okay, so you can see I've still got a bit of work to do on the bee. I have placed the organza template on the background here, and it fits on this bee, and I've started to kind of position more to mix up my colours and make sure that we've got an even of lights and darks throughout the wing. But I've got a lot of stitching here, and you know I've got a lot of stitching on the bee's abdomen and thorax, which is just going to be a plain black with golden thread. The other things I need to add is the pollen, which we do know the bees carry on their back legs, so I'm going to add some of those, going to applique my legs plain black as well. And the last thing that we'll do is actually the wreath, and that's with all these beautiful flowers that you've created for me. Some lovely hummingbirds for the wreath as well, but I'm not going to be able to do that until I cut this down to the right size. So that will be the very, very final step that I create just before we have it up and completed and binded. So I've still got a lot of work to do, but I will be working on this as a priority, and I look forward to showing it to you when it's finished.